recorded content and ongoing support. And then we have a second component to our business, which is branding. And once the business is working, we help businesses look the part. We help clean up their look and stuff. But the reason Makeover Master came about was, in the beginning, I had to make over myself. I had to make over my mindset, because I had a wrecked mindset from some adversity I encountered in 2008, 2009. And so that's where the title came from, but it just kind of led into what we do, which is help make over businesses, help make over, get things working again.
Yeah, no, absolutely love it. It is something that I think a lot of times, and I experienced this myself last week as well. You hit the wall and you're just so deep into everything that you don't even realize that you hit the wall until somebody or something happens, and like the light bulb comes on and you're like, aha, I get it now. And that's always the goal. So talk to us a little bit about what you've experienced in seeing businesses that have kind of hit that wall, in the first place.
Yeah, I think, to kind of tap into my backstory, in 2008, I went from liquid millionaire to $200,000 in debt in less than 6 months. I had a fairly large mortgage company that went under during that time. And so I had to deal with that adversity. And what I found, I went through a period where I was trying to figure everything out on my own. And what I found is that's oftentimes the loneliest, most expensive, and most painful road to go if you don't raise your hand and ask for help. Because you tapped into it in what you said, is you're not able to give yourself really that catalyst. A catalyst is an outside agent that has a direct impact on what's going on. And so how do you speed things up, or how do you break through these times where you hit ceilings of complexity, as Dan Sullivan would call it in Strategic Coach? Mm-hmm. Well, it oftentimes takes outside perspective. It takes, that's the same reason today that I still have two mentors. I have a mentor in marketing, advertising, copywriting, and I have a mentor in mindset. Because when I hit those moments for myself, it's oftentimes I can't solve my own problems. And the comments I hear from clients is, it feels like I can't see the forest through the trees. I feel like I'm too close to my own problems. And that's really what's going on, is you need an outside perspective, an outside catalyst to give you a new point of view. And that's the shift. Many times it's like, have you ever read a book and it was like one sentence of one chapter that completely changed your mindset around something that changed everything else after it? And that's what I do for people, is help give them that perspective that oftentimes is the missing piece,
Yeah. No, and that's absolutely, I think, critical when you start looking at, mindset. Is we're so self-involved all the time in our own mindset, and you can say, well, I'm a positive person, well, I'm an uplifting person, I uplift my team, but I think there's a lot of times where we get stuck, and we think we're doing that, but it's not actually happening. And so,
yeah, and it's weird, right? It's like, if you think about it, the first 7 years typically of our lives, we're essentially walking through a state of hypnosis, which means we're absorbing. Nobody really sits down and goes, here's how you walk, here's how you eat, here's how you breathe. You learn all that stuff instinctually. And by modeling other people's behavior, which is usually your parents and your environment that you're surrounded around.
Yep. And
that first 7 years tends to stick with you for the rest of your life. And so it's like having a computer that you bought the original Macintosh, let's say. Well, at some point you've got to upgrade. The hardware may still be the same, but you've got to upgrade that software. Because if you're still stuck in patterning and conditioning that happened, and some of it's like belief systems, like if you let's just say your parents were always repeating, money doesn't grow on trees and you got to work hard to get money, those types of things. then you're going to have that patterning ingrained into your belief system until you're able to unwire that. And for me, it took hiring an NLP hypnosis coach, because I had built certain patterning around some things that happened to me as a very young child. And then I'd also built some negative patterning that happened when I lost the business. And I needed somebody that could tap into that and kind of, the way I would describe it is release it and forgive myself and let it go. And then so I could move on and shift my focus to what I actually wanted.
Yeah, and so that's interesting. The shift is the shift is the critical part in shifting to the right things, right? We hear so much in business. You need to shift to revenue generating activities, to focus on your team, to whatever those shifts need to be in your business. And there's 1,000 different ones that it could be. But I think a lot of times we get stuck in this mindset of, we just need to we shift to whatever is, new and shiny and sparkly, whatever the hot topic is on LinkedIn, on the web, whatever, so it's like, oh, well, everything is culture right now. We're going to do that. We're going to shift to that. Right.
Well, and I've found over my experience directly was those shiny objects, and well, you've got to generate leads, obviously, right? For the business, you've got to close sales, you got to put money in the bank. The shiny objects, if you know my story, I spent 8.5 years buying every book and course and going to every seminar and event imaginable. But those shiny objects were actually a distraction for me to deal with the root problem that had to be fixed first. Because if you, as a business owner, don't love yourself, don't feel worthy of allowing money and prosperity and relationships to come into your life, the rest of those shiny objects are never going to work. And that's what happened for me. I was like, oh, I got to build culture, I got to build leads, I got to build systems. But underneath all that crap, I fundamentally had a very low self-esteem. I didn't feel like I was worth it. I was beating myself up over things that had happened in the past. And that was the linchpin, so to speak, that released all of it. Is once I solved that, the business stuff all started to work and seemed easy.
Yeah. No, I think a lot of times business owners, especially small business owners, get into an industry that they love. So it's not a condition of the work itself or owning business in that industry. It's a condition of, are they happy with all the other things that go along with owning a business, right? And I talk to a lot of people just about, offload what you're not good at to somebody that loves doing it. Look at the tasks that you love to do but are slow at, and figure out what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing, and then think about the things that you love and you're fast and you're passionate about, and focus on those things.
You're exactly right, because what the one word is that brings that all into focus is alignment, which is do the things that are in alignment with who you actually are. So if you can, like, we're all born a certain way. We're all kind of hard coded to be like, I see it in my kids. My kids are still young. And I see, like, from the very start, the infancy of my kids, they were like, my son always organized things and liked to build things. And my daughter was very artistic. What happens is we go into schooling a lot of times and we're told to shut up, sit down, stand in line. And so we get broken down by quote unquote adults telling us how we should behave when we were already perfect the way we were born. We just forget that along the journey. And so a lot of times with a business owner, I'm helping them remember who they actually are and stop doing stuff that drags your energy. And I think that's the easiest way to look at it is, did I do this thing and did it make me feel better or make me feel worse? And how many times can I continue to do the things that make me feel good, that I'm naturally good at? And how many times do I delegate the things that I don't feel as good doing, that somebody else feels great doing? There's somebody out there that absolutely loves cleaning houses for a living. There's somebody out there that loves landscaping. And so if you can tap into those people and kind of build your team, you end up, it's like, you ever watch that old cartoon, The Transformers?
Yes.
It's like that. It's like you're taking an arm of somebody else that's really got a really strong right arm, and somebody else has a really strong left arm, but maybe your brain is really strong, and you're lumping these things together to build one really strong machine.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I absolutely love that. And I think one of the things that's important about that goes beyond just self, right? So we feel great because we've gotten rid of the things that we don't like to do. But your team feels great because now you've empowered them to excel at what they love to do.
Yeah. Yeah, and our team, we operate today out of what I call a flow state, results only work environment. And so I don't tell my team when to work. I found people that are highly skilled in the areas where I was weak, and they're passionate about what they do. They care about our clients, so I don't have to self motivate them to get stuff done. It's like, here's what needs to be done next. And they work, I don't care if they work at midnight or 2 a.m. or whatever. It's like they need to work when they're operating from a solid emotional state. So if they have a bad day, and let's say they lost a dog, or they had their uncle pass away and they're having a bad day, that will directly translate in the quality of work they put forth that day. So I just tell them, like, don't work that day. If you're not in a solid emotional state, and this comes back to the talk, which is mindset. If you're in a crappy emotional state, typically you make terrible choices and you produce terrible things. It's just the way it is. So you've got to kind of reclaim that positive state, and you can do that through music. You can do it through rest. You could do it through exercise. You could do it through more sleep. Take a break, but you got to get your self back into that good state so that you can produce the quality work that you can produce.
Yeah, no, I think it's interesting. You talk about music, taking a break, things like that, and working when you're most productive. You know, there's so many businesses that are focused on time, and especially now that we're doing, you know, so many businesses are in this remote workspace now. You know, it doesn't matter if I work at 9 o'clock in the morning or 9 o'clock at night. You know, for most businesses, it does not matter.
It doesn't matter for the most part, right?
For the most part, not always, but for the most part, it doesn't matter. And so, if we are forcing everybody to work at 9 a.m. till 5 p.m., but me as a producer goes, I can be 30% more productive if I work from 3 in the afternoon until 10 o'clock at night.
Yep.
Cool. Like,
well, what would happen, like, and you have to know the different archetypes of your employees. For me, if you even alluded and you said, Mike, you have to be here 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., I instantly shut off, because I'm a guy deep down that hates people telling me what to do, and I don't like rules. So if you said, hey, I'm going to give you the flexibility to work whenever you want, all I care about is the X result, Y result, Z result. I'm like, dude, I'll get more done in 4 hours than most people get done all day, because you just eliminated that one barrier that was in my mind. So you really have to have clarity around what you're trying to execute on and the people you're surrounding yourself with.
Yeah, I think it's you talk about surrounding yourself with the right people, and that's a big piece in my mind to mindset. Because if you have, you know, so I always liken people into two kind of primary categories. There's the givers and the takers, right? So the givers are the people that are going to give you 110% of themselves all the time, right? Whether it be work, whether it be personal, whether it be emotional, whatever you need, they're focused on giving back to you because they're passionate about being a giver. And then there's the takers, and we all have these people in our life. They're the people that, no matter what you do for them, they're always going to ask for something more from you.
Yeah.
And so,
you know what I've found, Adam, it's still kind of fascinating to me, because it took me a long time, almost a decade, to kind of discover some of this stuff the hard way. But it's as simple as your body and your energy already knows the answers. You know, like if I said, hey, Adam, I've got this MLM, and it's a Tupperware party thing, and I want you to come over to my house. There's going to be 10 people you don't know, and we're going to talk about Tupperware for 2 hours, you know. you would have like this reaction where you'd kind of almost like and you'd almost all instantly be thinking of excuses why not to go to that thing. Your
Yep.
body's literally telling you no right there, then and then. But so many times we don't tune into ourselves and listen to that voice. It's like, trust your gut, man. You already know the answer instantly. Or if you had a bad breakup and you had a girlfriend that was possessive or something like that, and she's like, hey, I want to get back together, and you're like right there, you know the decision, but you don't trust yourself.
Yeah.
And the givers and the takers thing, it is literally going down to the micro level of like, does this person make me feel better and give me energy when I'm around them, or do they drag that and take it away? And you just have to systematically remove the people that take away your energy and put more people in your life that give you energy.
Yep. That's it. It's exactly where I was going with that, and it's exactly where I was going with that. And the thing, the caveat that I always put to that when I talk to people about that is that I think you have to realize that at certain points in everybody's life, we become a taker, and even though naturally we're a giver. It just happens. And
Yep.
You have to recognize, is this person wholeheartedly a taker, or is this just that time in their life where they just need help getting to the next
You're
step?
absolutely right. And sometimes that help is like, what I find with clients is sometimes, like I used to coach college baseball, and sometimes there was a kid that needed you to yell at him and be that type of a coach. And sometimes there was a kid that needed a little bit of hand holding. Sometimes you had to let kids go through adversity to discover the outcome on their own because it was going to build their strength and character. And other times you just had to do it for them. And so you really have to, like you said, I don't believe that any of us are wired one way 100% of the time. That's why we have moods. That's why we have emotions. And so if you can kind of recognize those instances, I can now see, I see it pretty clearly now, but I can see this business owner just needs me to do it for him, or this business owner needs to suffer and go through the adversity right here because it's going to make them stronger. It doesn't do me any good to just fish for my clients all the time. They need to learn how to build some foundational things with not only their mindset, but their business, so that they can fish long-term on their own,
Yeah, no, I agree. I want to make one shift here before we wrap up, and because I think it's really important. I think we've talked a little bit about personal mindset. I want to talk about how that personal mindset plays out to the team dynamic, because there's huge power in that. And we all know the leaders that we've been around that are super positive and what that does versus the leaders that are super negative and what that does. But I want to talk, more so about how do we project our positive mindset to our team and get them, so to speak, on the train, or on the bus.
I think number one is how do you get to a place in your life where you're authentically yourself 24/7, 365, so you're not necessarily having to project, you're just projecting who you are. And so how do you, it's kind of the old saying of you've got to pour from a full cup, you can't pour from an empty cup. So you've got to arrive in a place that, number one, you feel good about yourself, you feel good about your business, you believe in what you're doing, and then just instead of trying to become your position, you just live your position in the marketplace. And then number two is to recognize that we're all human beings. I think some of the blessings that are coming out of COVID are people are realizing, why am I forcing people to work 9 to 5 if they're not wired that way? So that's one of the blessings. The other blessing, I think it's making I call it the age of transparency, but it's really making people realize, hey, we're all on the same rock together. We're all human beings. So I've got to, as a leader, if you read any of Pat Lencioni's books, which are all great, but as a leader, you need to cast the vision, and there are people that want to follow that vision, but you've got to repeat it over and over again. Hey, this is where we're going, guys. This is why we're doing this. This is what we're doing with clients and how we're helping them. And so you just have to repeat the message, then realize when your team members are having an off day, realize when your team members need some support or they need a break or whatever. And you've got to, it feels like you're spinning plates a lot of times. You just have to keep balancing and be like, oh, this one's falling down. How do I best help this person? And I think the shift, you mentioned it, we all have, scientists have say there's anywhere from 12 to 30,000 thoughts a day going through our head. And the shift is to focus on other people instead of yourself. What I've found when business owners get stuck, they need to shift their focus to their clients. I found when teams aren't working, you need to shift away from yourself and think about your team. And those subtle shifts and getting out of your own head and focusing on how you can help other people are the difference between whether there's zeros in your bank accounts or lots of money.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. One of the things, like when I build when I've built teams in the past, one of the things that I really focus on with my teams is making sure I stop by their desk or have a contact with them and asking them, how can I help you succeed today?
Yeah.
And
there's a fine line to that, right, Adam? Like the fine line is, are you doing it because you've got this reminder in your calendar to do it and you're kind of faking it in some way? Like, human beings have an extremely strong neuroendocrine reactivity, which is our sixth sense. But if you're genuinely doing things because you genuinely care, other human beings can sense that. And I've had bosses before in previous employers where it's like, hey, every day at 9 a.m. they show up, they ask me the same BS question. They don't actually care. They built it into their routine, versus somebody that at a random time can genuinely see I'm having an off day and say, hey, I want to take a moment. I'm busy, but I want to take a moment. Is there anything I can do to help you? I see that something maybe is bothering you today. And those genuine, like, I talk a lot with clients about being authentic and being genuine to yourself and others. But that makes all the difference, is just showing up authentically.
Yeah, no, I love it. I liken it to this. I've posted on LinkedIn a couple times on this. You get these big offices, right? And you got Joe, who's 6 departments away from you on the other side of the building, that you've seen him passing in the break room, and his uncle dies, and should you approach him and go, I'm sorry for your loss? Well, the question is, are you going to be able to do that authentically or not? And does it make sense? Because if I'm Joe and I don't ever talk to you and you come over and say that to me, I'm going to be like, oh, he's just going through the motions. Right?
Yeah, freaking Joe.
Yeah. And it's not because I don't care about that, but it's that I know I can't authentically approach that situation. Will I sign the card if card goes around the office? For sure.
And that's the same thing with our businesses, is like, how do you arrive to the place where every single, like, business owners talk a lot about systems and funnels and leads and conversions and all this stuff. But how do you get to the place where you feel good? Like, how do you feel good in the way that you generate leads? How do you feel good in the way that you show up to present phone calls? And how do you stop skipping steps in that natural human progression, right? It's like, and that's really what most of the game for business owners is, having patience and just saying, I'm going to allow this relationship to develop naturally. I'm not going to go, hey, nice to meet you, and I'm gonna develop the relationship and allow it to progress naturally, because my average client takes about 6 months before they buy from me. They're following me around, they're asking some questions, they're consuming free stuff, but I don't rush the relationship. And when they buy, they're ready to buy. And many business owners that I see don't have the patience, because at the end of the day, we all have to put food on the table and roofs over our heads and all those things. And that's like this cash flow can be this drunk monkey riding alongside you, punching you in the side of the face, that kind of screws up that authentic ability that we're talking about.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think you have to adapt all those systems and funnels and all that stuff to the human condition. So it's great to have all that stuff, but if you have not adapted it to the human condition that exists in business and relationship building, you're going to fail on all those processes all the time.
And I think if so many people ask me, like, what's the one secret, or what's the cheat code, or what's the hack that speeds this thing up? unless you have authority and positioning in your marketplace and you're wildly known, which most of us, to be honest, are not wildly known. There's very few Donald Trumps or Oprahs or Tony Robbins of the world that are known very wide. Too many people on the planet, right? So if you don't have positioning and authority built up in your niche, the hack or the cheat code is always to go more personal, go more direct. And so when somebody else is trying to automate their funnel and you can pick up the phone and have a conversation, it's always going to be a faster path to go more personal with people.
I talk about this all the time on LinkedIn, the snippet, form messages that are like, hey, so I do this and you should buy my product. Let's chat about it. No, let's not chat about it because I don't know who you are and I don't care who you are at this point anymore. So I've always, I drink that Kool-Aid all day of the week, every week. It takes a minute to review somebody's profile, provide a quick personal touch to your message, and then say, hey, I'd love to talk about how we can help each other out.
Yeah, I think the worst ones are when you get a message through LinkedIn or something else and they're like, hey, tell me about what you do. And it's like, have you read my profile? Like, it's like, I literally say right there, this is exactly what I do.
I like the so I do marketing, digital marketing specifically. And I love the SEO guys that ping me all the friggin' time. They're like, hey, have you thought about how you can improve your SEO rank on your website? Yes, I have. A lot.
I think about it
more than you. So, I think that's the thing when you're trying to grow and run a business, is to remember that deep down, we all want peace of mind. We all want comfort and security. We all want to hang out with the people that give us energy, which is typically our family and friends. And so you're interrupting that relationship when you pitch your stuff or when you introduce yourself, and you need to treat it as such. You need to realize you're interrupting this person's time and day, and be very respectful of others, because if you're trying to build new relationships, you just have to remember that first step is an interruption to what they actually want, which they don't want to be interrupted. They want to go spend time with their family and kids. Exactly. Absolutely love it. I appreciate everything. There is just stupid amounts of gold in this conversation that we had today. So it'll be living on LinkedIn, Facebook, and eventually when I get a few extra minutes, we'll get it over to the YouTube channel as well for the replay action. If people want to find you, where can they find you?
My website is themakeovermaster.com. We do all sorts of free stuff and free reviews for business owners that are stuck, that can't figure out why. And I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. And just, again, there's a ton of free resources on there if people want to check it out.
Awesome. Appreciate it. One last thing I always love to do, because we've had some great conversation, talked about a lot of stuff. What is that one thing that we've talked about today that people should take away from our conversation?
I would say two things, even though you asked for one. I would say get to a place where you can show up and be your authentic self 24/7, 365. It makes the game a whole lot easier when you're not faking anything. And the second thing I would say, if you're stuck and if you're not getting the results you want, it's 100% okay to ask for help. And that's the shortcut. Is the moment you raise your hand is the moment the help emerges. Whether it's your mindset, whether it's your leads, whether it's your business, whatever else, it's okay to ask for help.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it. Go check him out all over the web. I've been on the website. Absolutely fantastic stuff there. He's got a podcast on there as well with tons of great interviews like this as well. So go check that out. Listen to his podcast. Great information. If you love the show, it does take a little bit of time, effort, and money to put this on. Patreon.com/Adam Sinkus. All the pennies that I get from that go right back into supporting the show so that I can continue to bring great guests like Mike to the show and share this information with you. Appreciate everybody's time. Mike, I appreciate you taking some time out today. And we will catch you next week, Tuesday at 1 p.m.
Thanks, Adam, for having me on.
Thanks.